Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a mic for him. There we go. For Christ's sake. There you go. All right, everybody. Our first guest today, Jason Paul Collum. You know him. He's been here almost every year. 22 years. He's just like the rest of us. Yeah. I thought so. I wasn't going to say it because I wasn't 100% sure, but I thought you'd been here from day one. So it's one thing in this space to just produce something, make something that is fun, and that's always the goal, I think, to make it. But it's another thing to produce something that is useful, and I think that guide right there, which is called "They Made How Many," which is sort of a guide to horror movie sequels. He actually has a second edition. Tell them what's new and exciting about this edition.
So for those of you who didn't know about the first edition last year, it covers 100 years worth of franchises from 1900 to 1999. If the original movie came out by New Year's Eve 1999, the entire franchise is included. So Witchcraft 16, and I learned Camp Fear 14, and if it's a big Hollywood movie or if it's a shot on camcorder franchise, they're all included in this. So, and I learned really quickly after it came out that it will always be out of date because sequels are constantly coming. So there were a couple of franchises that I had somehow missed. This was 2.5 years of research, and you think you've got everything, and it turns out I did not. So I learned about the Camp Fear movies, and I didn't have Count Yorga. I forgot The Dentist. What was it? There was a franchise from the 40s called The Devil Bat. Does anybody know what those? There's 3 of those. So it's just, you kind of start doing these deep dives, and I just kept finding new stuff. So I put out the second edition, and it's 25 additional pages, over 50 titles added just since last year. I will not do this again for 3 to 5 years. I'm going to let it build up a little bit more. But I do have volume 1 at my table for sale presently. I was supposed to have volume 2 at my table, but the publisher screwed up. So I do have a poster with a QR code on it that you can just order direct from Amazon today and have it in 2 days.
This is not a pre-order. Yeah, this is like an order. You will have it. Yeah.
Right. So the book is already in existence. It actually came out 2 weeks ago, and the publisher just went, "Oops, sorry." So
if you're here Monday, it'll be here Monday.
yeah, that is true. So, but yeah, it's so the second edition I think was up near 700. There's up near 700 pages. So it's a lot, and it also includes interviews with over 30 actors and crew members from all the franchises you love. I've got Halloween, Sleepaway Camp, Slumber Party Massacre, Return of the Living Dead. Who did I just get? I just got Kathleen Kinmont from Bride of Reanimator, and I'm trying to think who the other one was I just did. Oh, Priscilla Barnes from Three's Company. She did Stepfather 3, so I've got that. So there's all these people sprinkled in. And I have a big stack of them on my table, and you are welcome to come look at them without me going, "Please buy it." Please just come and take a look at it.
Oh, this is the second edition.
This is the second.
Okay, this
I have
my copy.
The copy that I got as an author is the only one that I received. So you can look at this one if you want. I just can't sell it to you.
All right. So what else? You mentioned new on disc. Your 3-part.
I probably should start with.
That's fine.
When I was in college, I got hired, actually paid, to create a series of shot-on-video, Last House on the Left style. It wasn't as sexually gruesome, but it was like kids in the woods are stalked by friends and try to escape it. It was called 5 Dark Souls, and the first one actually did really well on video. Blockbuster picked it up, Hollywood Video picked it up. So we made a part 2, and then we made a part 3. Part 3 kind of sat on a shelf. I never really finished it, and then like 20 years later, I found the people and discovered that a lot of them still look the same, so we wrapped it up. And so all 3 of them, they're very cheaply made, but for whatever reason, the first one in particular, people really seem to enjoy. So For the very first time, they are all available on DVD.
Is it a set, or is it you buy them separately?
Well, you buy them separate, so
Okay.
they're $10 a piece,
Okay.
or if you can get all three for 25.
There you go.
So
Clearly a good deal. Okay. And you mentioned many of your titles, if not all of your titles, are going to finally be available on like some streaming
platform, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So talk about making that happen. What, like, was there it seems like it was a process maybe to get this to happen.
Well, I have to give all the credit to Jared Walter. If anybody knows who he is, he created the Dead Next Door. He has a website. It's called MakeFlix. It's makeflix.com, and he sells all of this kind of stuff, like crazy titles, low budget, medium budget, Fred Olin Ray, Jim Wynorski stuff. So, anyways, he is really the person who's in charge of this deal, but he's making this big deal right now with this streaming company, and they put it out to multiple places like Freebie and Tubi, and so I do not know when exactly that's going to happen, but I do know that all of my titles are a part of this package.
Okay. Like titles, which, like, all of them? All of them?
Everything.
Okay. Okay.
Of all the stuff that I've directed, there's only one that I do not own. I directed a Slumber Party Massacre documentary, and that was actually for Shout Factory, so that one I don't have the rights to. But everything else that I've ever made, I was own the rights to.
Okay. And you said you're finally getting around to doing a sequel for your film Safe Inside.
Right.
From 2017, is that what it was? Yeah, so talk about, and you've got, like, again, the original people, everyone looks the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so I made a movie called Safe Inside. It's kind of a Dan Curtis, remember his movies from like the 70s, Burnt Offerings, and what was it, Alone in the Dark, and Trilogy of Terror. It's that kind of a feel. So I never intended to make a sequel to it. It's got a low cult following to it, and I was just like, I got an idea, and I gathered up the money for it, and so we're right in the middle of production on it. It should be wrapped in about a month, and hopefully I'll end this fall. It's got Brink Stevens from Slumber Party Massacre. Brink Stevens from Slumber Party Massacre, and Judith O'Day, who's Barbara from Night of the Living Dead. She's in it. And a bunch of other people you probably don't know. But the entire original cast, even if they in the first movie, they're back in this one.
Can you give us some sense of what it's about, or?
Without giving too much away. The first movie, a guy, you have to decide, is the house that he's in haunted, or is he just going cuckoo? And the way the first movie ends, and if you haven't seen it, I don't want to give away too much, but though the parties responsible for the first movie get what's coming to them in the second movie.
Okay.
So.
Now you had this shirt on, and Femme Fatale, seminal publication for a long time. It was part of that Cinema Fantastique group of books, and another seminal magazine for those of us of a certain age. Well, okay, maybe it's just me of that certain age, but anyway. And no. Oh no, you're all old. I know. No, but you tell people about like your time at these magazines, because you probably read his stuff if you ever read one of these magazines.
So Femme Fatales was a sister magazine to Cinema Fantastique, which was science fiction, fantasy, horror. That magazine was started in the early 70s, and then in the 90s, this was so the shirt I'm wearing is the #1 issue of Femme Fatales, and Brink Stevens kind of became the mascot for the magazine. It was cheesecake kind of stuff, like it was pretty girls and scantily clad, promoting again science fiction, fantasy, horror. The magazine lasted for 10 years. I started just as a writer. I submitted my very first article that I ever wrote was Slumber Party Massacre retrospective. You're catching on here if there's a theme, right? And so the very first article I ever wrote, they published it and gave it the cover story. And it was one of their most popular issues that had ever been sold. So I wound up writing, I think, over 60 articles for them over the years. And then I got hired I moved to Chicago and worked for them as an assistant editor. And then got hired actually to be the editor-in-chief of Cinema Fantastique. And as I was working on my first issue, we came in on a Monday morning and they told us it had all been shut down.
Is So you were like editor for a day?
Like, it was like, I believe I got the job on my birthday, which was July 15th, and we were shut down on September
Oh my gosh.
2nd or something. And we were given no warning, it was just done. So, I do at my table also have what would be considered the final original issue of Femme Fatales with Halle Berry cover. It never went to press. But I found an old copy in a file, so I have copies of it at my table as well. It was pretty devastating. We had no idea. And we thought initially that the bank, our boss just kind of said, they are coming, and when they get here, whatever's in the building is theirs. So get all of your personal items out to your cars as fast as you can. I mean, it was that crazy of a day. And we later found out that it had been sold to another business in California. The guy who bought it, his wife is Ellie Cornell from Halloween 4. That's all I can tell you. And it was not done to be sneaky to us, but they didn't take any of us. The whole staff was out the door. They wanted to hire a whole new staff back in California. So the magazine technically continued to exist after us, but it became more of a Maxim kind of, and what was it, FM?
Right.
Yeah. It became that style, and then it lasted for like a year or two, and then it was done.
Yeah. All right. You brought this. Let's talk about this.
So this is my not horror book. I wrote my first children's book. It came out earlier this year, and it's for self-esteem. I was a little nerd in school and was bullied a lot, and I'm not trying to get tears from anybody, but this is kind of, the story is about me, more or less, and how I discovered as an adult, when I walk, I look at the ground. And I had gone on a walk along the beach, and for 45 minutes, never once looked up. And I was like, what am I doing? And realized I've been doing it since a little kid, because I always was like, if I don't look at them, they won't make fun of me. And that was just me as a kid. I never really thought about it until very recently. So I wrote a book, and it's called Heads Up So You Can See the World, and it's just all the things that you're missing when you keep your eyes looking down and you don't want to kind of like look at other people. So what I found is that kids like it, but adults love it. So
I was going to ask you if you've gotten any like feedback on it since it's been out for a while.
So yeah, it came out earlier this year, and it's done well, and I think it kind of touches on a chord with anybody who was ever like the outcast.
Nobody here would understand that at all, I don't think. No. We got time for a few questions. If anybody, there's a mic here, but you don't have to use it if you just want to project a little bit. There's not a lot of you here, but yeah.
Do you have that book you said it's at your table?
This one or I have both of them. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Heads up. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else?
The lights are in my eyes, so I can't see.
I know. I realize now that we're throwing shadows on each other here. We got to pull these back. Yes.
When did your writing journey start?
I was told by a teacher, I always thought I was dumb. I really did. I was like not a good student, and I had a teacher in 7th grade tell my parents that I was really good at writing. And I was like, huh? It was the first time I'd ever heard like a big compliment like that. So I started writing little stories, and then as I got into high school, I did the yearbook and the school newspaper, and then in college, I took it more seriously, and right as I was moving to LA, right out of college, is when I wrote that I was like, I'm gonna find all these slumber party massacre girls. I'm just gonna go ahead and write that article. And like I said, it was the first thing I ever published. And I did used to write letters into Fangoria magazine. So I did have about 10 little pieces talking about typically the B movies. It wasn't the big Hollywood stuff. It was like Prom Night 4 and Halloween 6 and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Always sequels.
Following up on that, I was curious, and considering what you said about yourself when you were younger, interviewing people sometimes is for people who are kind of internal people and awkward and shy and feel that way. It's got to be one of the hardest things to do. How did you, and especially when it's people that you consider like celebrities,
Right.
How did you kind of overcome that? Or maybe it wasn't really bad in the beginning and then you got better.
Oh, and I mean, to this day, if I meet somebody that I'm a huge fan of, I will have to hold my hands in my lap because I'll do this, you know? So I'm still nervous. I try to be as professional as possible. And I found that every celebrity that I've ever interviewed, they're always very generous. And they're, the conversation just becomes kind of natural. I have my list of questions. but I don't know. I just kind of, it just starts to flow, and and they're very personable and and it relaxes me. So.
And it probably, I mean, I've always found that people like that respond, especially people that clearly know their stuff, like and are huge fans of these things and of their work, and that definitely, it strokes their ego a little, and so they are very generous with you as a result of that. So I'm guessing that's where you fall into that category.
Yeah. I do have, and I won't tell it out here, but if you come to my table, there was ever one actress who I had a bad experience with. And then I had one experience, the actress wasn't bad, but she went to the bathroom and she came back and she had cocaine all over her face. And she came back. So, again, won't announce it here, but come to my table and I'll tell you the story.
Oh my goodness. All right, any last chance? Anybody, one last question for? Okay, that's fine. We're almost out of time. So thank you so much again for coming back. Please go visit him at his table inside in the vendor's room upstairs. And stick around. We got our next panel in about 5 minutes. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, go.